Hi, my name is Thomas Matson, and this is my 15-1-12 term project, which I have dubbed Pixel Wizards. It is a turn-based strategy game in which the players are small wizards who take turns shooting spells at one another, and the last wizard standing wins. If you've played games like Arcanists or Worms, that should sound somewhat familiar. If you have not, you'll see what that means in just a little bit. So as you can see, I already have the code up here, and I can run it for you now. So this is the main screen of the game, and hopefully you can hear the music that is playing in the background. That's the main soundtrack of the game. Some pretty awesome dubstep, which I think is cool. So the main screen is fairly typical. You have the title, and then down here you have your abilities, and as you hover the mouse over them, they light up. But one cool thing that I did that I think is absolutely adorable is I added this little wizard player right here. And just like you would in the game, you can use the arrow keys and the spacebar to jump him around on top of all of these. And if you hop him down here and have him stand on top of the options, if you push enter, it will act as though you clicked the option with the mouse, which I think is pretty cool. And if you happen to make him fall off the edge, he respawns at the top. So, with that in mind, let's look at the instructions screen to start with. And in here, it basically tells you the same thing that I just did. It is a game very similar to Arcanists or Worms, which honestly were a big part of my childhood. I love them, which is why I remade it in Python. So, going back to the main screen, I can show you what the abilities in the game are, which are listed in the ability section. And it shows the icon, as you would see in the game, to click on, and the name of the ability and what it does. And there are 10 in total. You can scroll through this list and look at all of them. I will tell you more about them in-game because I feel that it's better to see them in action as I'm describing them. So, the abilities and the instructions are nice reminders once you've played the game a little bit. Until then, it's really impossible to understand exactly what they're doing. So, with that in mind, let's start. And the first thing you get when you click play is a settings screen. It allows the players to customize their game a little bit before they start. So, to show you the full extent of the game, let's pick 4 players, and 90 seconds for the turn time. That way we have a little bit of time to mess around. And the other thing that players can decide on is map type. So there are quite a few different options here, 4 for each category. I'll show you a couple of them now before we actually start playing so you get an idea. So the simplest is an ultra-flat map type and no special terrain. And you'll see what that looks like in just a second. So, as you can see, map is perfectly flat. Here's the 4 players that we chose, and the turn time up here started at 90, up in the top left. So that's ultra flat. It's pretty basic, not too exciting. But I will show you one of my personal favorites in just a moment, which is rolling hills with medium terrain density. Personally, my favorite of the settings. I think it looks the best. So, as you can see, now the ground is sloping. It's all randomly generated. And it also spawns in bushes and grass and trees and these adorable floating houses, which I think is awesome. So, you can select these options to customize a little bit, and then every time it'll randomly generate new terrain for the players to work with. So now we can actually start playing the game. So as you can see by this little cursor, and by the player order over here, it is currently green player's turn, and every time you get players in this order, red, green, blue, yellow, some combination of the 4 or less if you picked less players. And essentially it's up to the players to divvy up who is going to be what color. So, starting with green player. Every turn you get a time limit. In this case it started at 90, it's already down to 30, but within the time limit you can use the arrow keys and the spacebar to hop your player around the map. And everything, excluding the sky background, is fully interactable, including the pixel houses, which I would show you, but I can't quite reach that right now. So you walk around, and then within your turn time, you can pick one of these spells to cast. In this case, I'll pick the first one, which is Teleport, and as you can see, as I'm hovering over it, it displays Teleport at the bottom. And now, since the 90 seconds is up, it's red player's turn. So we'll have red player teleport instead. So I will click on teleport, and what will happen is it'll display this cursor. When the cursor is green, I can teleport. When it's red, I can't, because we don't want you teleporting into the ground. So I'll put it over here, and the red player goes, drops, and now it is the next player's turn, blue. So the next spell on the list is Fireball, the little orange one, and I will hop him over here so we can use it. So, when you click on Fireball, you get a cursor right here, which will help you aim it. And so you point it at whatever you're trying to shoot, and then hold down the mouse to power the shot. So I'm going to aim it at green player, and I'm going to hold down the mouse, and it'll launch a fireball. And as you can see, an explosion occurred, green player lost 50 health, and some of the terrain here was destroyed. That's important, because it allows players to tunnel and use the ground to their advantage. So, the next spell that I want to show you is called Flash, and what it is a short-range explosion that has really huge knockback. So, if I click on it as yellow player, it gives me this tiny cursor, which means that I can't power the shot, it's just put directly in front of me. So, if I point it just beneath blue player, it sends him flying over this way, and off the map. I'll show you what happens because of that in just a moment. So, now it's green player's turn, and in this case I will pick Lava Bomb, since that's next on the list. And it comes up with a cursor kind of like Fireball, so you aim the spell just like you would Fireball, but instead of detonating on impact, lava bombs will bounce around for 5 seconds before exploding, so you can see it moving, and then it's settled in between these blades of grass here. And then it comes up with a larger explosion. So, now it's red player's turn, and the next spell on the list are arrows. What the arrows do is when you click on them, you get a little target icon. You place it where you want the arrows to go, and then you can power the arrows kind of like a fireball, but instead of flying off on their own, they seek towards the target marker before dropping. So as you can see, all of these are honing towards green player because that's where I put it. So, now we're back to blue player, which, if you remember, fell off the map. And when you fall off the map, you are required to use teleport to get back up. Now, say you had just used teleport before you fell off, and your teleport spell was on cooldown. In that case, you have to forfeit a portion of your health to teleport back up onto the map, which provides a strategic aspect for wanting to knock players off the map. So, now it is yellow player's turn. I can show you the next spell. Magma Bomb. This one works kind of like Lava Bomb, except instead of just exploding and being done, it launches out multiple fragments. So I'll just drop it to the side of yellow player here. So as you can see, it bounces around, kind of like Lava Bomb, but then it explodes and sends fragments flying. So it gives it the capability to do a lot more damage, but you do have to be careful because these are going to spray everywhere, and you have no control over it. So, now it's a green player's turn, which I feel is appropriate because the next spell is Summon Tree. So, Spawn Tree. What it does is it brings up a cursor, kind of like Teleport Cursor, and what you can do is use this to spawn in a tree, not directly on top of players, but right beside them, and in doing so you can either trap them or hide. So now this tree is a part of the environment, and red player can't move through it. They have to jump out to get away. And if I had put the tree closer in here, it would have blocked his escape entirely, and he would have had to waste a turn to escape. So, the next spell, which is honestly one of my favorites, it's really funny, is Napalm. And what this does is it brings up a cursor kind of like Flash. because you can't power this shot, it's already set for you. And what it does is it sprays out a line of these little orange triangles which explode upon touching the player, and then they linger on the map for up to 5 turns after their cast. And what happens is if a player touches them during their turn, they explode and then stun the player. So now blue player can't move. I'm pressing the mouse keys and nothing is happening. But blue player can still use one of their spells. So the next spell on the list is Drain, which works kind of like Fireball, except instead of just dealing flat damage, it damages the enemy and heals you. So as you can see, blue player's health was refreshed to the original 250. Now, the final spell is Barrier. And what Barrier does is it spawns a barrier on your player, which then causes the next harmful spell to do half damage. So as you can see, yellow player now has this distinctive yellow glow around them, which indicates that they have a barrier active. So if I take a fireball and shoot yellow player, instead of doing the full 50 damage that it normally would, it only does 25. So that's all of the spells, and if you look over here you can see teleport's on cooldown now because I used it on red player. And you can tell there are 2 turns left before it's off cooldown, and I can't cast it because it's grayed out. Nothing's happening while I click it. Additionally, there are things like Barrier goes on a 5-turn cooldown, and it has a maximum of 4 uses. So after you use it 4 times, no more. Same thing with Magma Bomb. You can only cast it 4 times. And then Spawn Tree has a 5-turn cooldown, Drain has a 3-turn cooldown. So there are a lot of different possibilities for pinning your opponents in bad situations and attempt to outmaneuver them. And that's what really makes this game so strategic, is the moldability of the landscape and your ability to use different spells to your greatest advantage. On average, I would say that games of 4 players would take roughly 30 minutes, assuming all of the players aren't just standing on top of each other and dropping magma bombs, which is a bad idea because you're going to hurt yourself as well as the other player. Not so great. And what happens when this is all done is all of the players just keep hitting each other like this until there's only one of them left. As you can see, their health bars are all steadily going down along the side, and whenever a player's health bar reaches 0, they're removed from the game, and the other 3 are bumped up. The last player remaining wins. And I can show you what this looks like in just a second. I'm going to pause the video, and when I come back, I'll have the game over screen up. Alright, so here we are. There are only 2 players remaining at very low health. So I'm going to have the blue player kill the green player now. And that means blue player wins. And as you can see, the game over screen comes up, and it says blue player wins in a nice blue color. And at this point, the only option left is to return to the main screen, at which point you can start a new game. And that's all there is to it. This is a wonderful version of one of my favorite games from when I was little, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching.